Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but I want to give a shout out to my great sponsors. Now, you've heard me say before, these are companies that I used as an AD. They are great. You should be using them too. They're time savers, some are money makers. Take the next 3 minutes, don't hit that fast forward button, listen to my shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be really glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. Let's also say thanks to our friends at Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an AD, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. Our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. It's huddle.com. Let's also say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards, but their new content creation service takes it to another level. Their talented teams of designers and writers are going to create compelling narratives that you can then post on your school's social media channel to share your legacy, your history, and your great accomplishments of your school. You really got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and click on Content Services. You're going to be very glad you did. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. You know, your athletic department is doing great stuff, and Gipper is going to make you look like you're Division I, like your professional grade. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's professional graphic design made easy, and it's easy because of their thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize with your colors, your logos, your graphics. Gipper allows you to create, share, and schedule all your social media on one simple platform. And that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com for more information. We want to say thanks to our friends at Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, communication, facilities. Home Campus does all of this and more and does it better and faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to get started. And with all of our sponsors, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 booster club software app. If you work with your boosters, you know that volunteer signups, volunteer changes are part of the game. Well, with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays connected and engaged. The same is true for sponsorship sales or concession sales. Nothing gets lost. Everything flows through their secure system. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. Go to boosterhub.com to get started. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. And Hometown is a platform that you need to add to your team. Go to hometown.com and take a look at all the things that they can provide you, including things like fee-free fundraising, digital ticketing, athletic website construction. The Hometown menu goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, or a head coach, Hometown's going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. And let's say thanks to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, how about your parents? You're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that truly connects you to everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as I mentioned, with all of our sponsors, make sure you tell them about the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Texas today, and we're going to be visiting with Kevin Hendrickson. Kevin is the Senior Director of Athletics for the Corpus Christi ISD. We were connected through, one of his athletic directors, Delma Bernal. She's a longtime leader in that district, and she suggested Kevin would be a great guest, and here he is today. Kevin Hendrickson, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Jake. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, as you and I were sharing before we hit record, it's still a busy time for athletic directors, for our listeners. We're recording this on June 16th, so it's going to be pretty timely when you listen to it. Kevin, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe just take us up through your college days in this segment, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Kevin Hendrickson origin story?
Yeah, so I was born in Austin, Texas, the capital of the great state. And just south of Austin in Buda, Texas, is where I grew up at. And I went to Hayes High School and played for the legendary coach, and who's in the Hall of Honor. He was the second one inducted into our association, the Texas High School Athletic Director Association, Bob Shelton. Unfortunately, just passed last year. And so was with that school for 40 years. So pretty legendary in that sense. You don't hear people being with a school district that long, let alone being the head coach and the athletic director. And so went there, grew up. As far as my middle school days, went through the system there in our feeder schools, went to Barton Middle School, and played every sport that you can imagine, right? So we did, football, we did the track, we did the cross country, we did the basketball, any sport that was available at that middle school. I participated and engaged in. And so I think that's so important, especially at the middle school age. And we'll talk later about some of my career, why I think it's so important. But I just wanted to add that I had a coach there, Coach Ragsdale, who is coaching as we speak still to this day. But what an impact that he had on my life. He had such energy on a young person's life, made it fun. The culture was great with him. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm here today. And so I just wanted to spotlight that while we're talking about our middle school experience. High school, went on to Hayes High School. And, back then, this was about 23 years ago. So it's been a minute since high school days. But, back then, where you still kind of get that here and there with kids specializing. So I went into football specifically. I did a little track. But that's one thing I do regret, as far as not continuing to do that. And what we preach today is to get involvement and have kids do it. I wish that was a little bit more of the say back then. But went to Hayes High School, had a great experience with that. College didn't get to play at the next level, but I did go to Texas State there in San Marcos. Just switched over from Southwest Texas to Texas State. So I was a Bobcat. And so I went there, my bachelor, to get my bachelor's degree. And I went there a few years later to get my master's degree.
Well, again, I want to say thanks for giving a shout out to your high school coach and the middle school coach. I think a lot of us end up in the coaching or the AD profession, and it can be traced back to those great leaders, those great mentors, those great coaches that we didn't even realize they were mentoring us at the time. Very cool. Thanks for giving that shout out. I want to go back even further than middle school. And again, I know Texas, football's, I think probably king, but I'm going to imagine in your backyard, there were football games with the neighbor kids. Maybe there was a hoop in the driveway. What are some of your memories of those days before it got organized?
Yeah, well, even then, yeah, you're right. I mean, I was literally walking. I would get in trouble with my mom because I would walk down the street barefoot to my cousin's house down the road, and we would play football in his front yard, and exactly what you just described. Even before middle school, in between my, adolescent years, I did play Pop Warner football, youth league football, and I did that from 6 years old until I got into middle school. So I would have been about 12 years old by then. So, yeah, we had to organize. Football and youth football, and it did follow the feeding middle school and high schools program, and so that's big, and that's very helpful when you have that still in your community, because it's that community-based sports. You're really starting from even an earlier age than your middle school and high school years, and so yeah, I participated in youth basketball as well, t-ball and baseball, and so yeah, you're right. It doesn't just start at the middle school level. It started years before. So I'm glad you brought that up because I had some good memories for that with that.
Oh no, absolutely. Um, Looking at your high school, I don't think I caught. Was it a big school? Was it a smaller school? You talk about the idea of playing all the sports. Sometimes in small schools they have to do that just to field the team. What was your high school like?
Yeah, so back then they didn't have, so we have a classification now presently from 1A to 6A here in the state of Texas. Back then, we didn't have 6As, and so we had 5A, and we were a 5A school. So it was the largest classification that you could have. I think I had about almost 600 students in my graduating class, so it was pretty good size. But it was definitely a 5A. And you didn't see as much of multi-sport athletes, like I'm saying, describing them. We want that now. We encourage that now. We do see the benefits of that. You did have some guys that would be, basketball, football, and there's some that translated over into track. But yeah, we had a pretty good size high school, and it was a 5A at the time. I want to say we were close to, you know, 2,000 students, 2,100 students back then.
Now, in that environment, that 5A environment that you were attending, was football a year-round sport basically? I mean, not maybe not officially, but it was year-round.
Yeah, not so much. I mean, there's so many things that has changed since then, with the 7-on-7s in the spring and into the summer. Now in the state of Texas with the UIL, that's our governing body. They have some stipulations where you can actually do an hour of skill work during the summertime even. And so we didn't have those systems in place 23 years ago. But to your point, it felt year round because of course, you had the football season in the fall, and then you would go right into off season, you start lifting and things of that nature. And then we would have spring football. We did spring football there. It was depending on the campus coordinator or athletic director, head football coach, if they wanted to participate in spring football. And then what that did was, if you did, then you lose a week into going into August for your two-a-days. But it definitely felt year round, but it's not what it is today. It literally is year round. And you got lineman challenges now, which is really cool. But yeah, it's a whole different beast nowadays.
Yeah, and that's a different show. We're gonna have to have you back on to talk about that, about Texas football. You mentioned Texas State, and full disclosure here, I was born and raised, and still live and die with my University of Oregon Ducks, who are no longer in the Pac-12. But my wife went to Oregon State, which is a Pac-12 school, and now Texas State is part of the Pac-12. So, is there any excitement there about the conference affiliation, or is that just nothing?
No, I think it is exciting. I mean, anytime that you can elevate to a bigger conference, it is exciting. That means you're going to get higher quality teams into the state and into the city, into the stadium. And so, absolutely, it's actually when I was going through my master's program, part of it was I was actually an athletic coordinator at a campus, and we'll talk about this a little later. But the only thing I want to add was I was a part of the internship at Texas State when they were transforming into 1A ball, Division One from AA.
Right.
And so that was pretty cool. So now this is just another step that they're doing, and I think it's great that they're moving on to Pac-12.
Yeah. No, and there's a writer, a blogger, I guess, for lack of a better word, that kind of covers all this stuff. And he reports that the feelings at Texas State, they're fired up, they're excited, and they're really looking forward to the coming season in all the sports, not just football. Let's go and take our first break. Once again, our guest today is Kevin Hendrickson. He's the Senior Athletic Director for the Corpus Christi Independent School District. Of course, that's in Corpus Christi, Texas. We're taking a break, but we're coming back, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their great products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service, just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the platform. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And as always, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
Hey, Jay. Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Huddle. We do use that here in Corpus Christi ISD, and a lot of the state of Texas does. But they have such a good product. We have our Corpus Christi ISD Sports Network that they have integrated with their product, and it's really good. It gives us a chance to allow grandparents and spectators that are far away and alumni to even catch up on games and things of that nature. So yeah, we really enjoy using Huddle.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that, Kevin. Again, I remember Huddle as a coach, obviously. At my school, we were just getting into the streaming when I retired. What's some of the feedback you've gotten from, say, those parents or grandparents about streaming those games for them?
No, they're just ecstatic that they have an opportunity to be able to watch it. And so our feedback's been positive with that. And so we're going to continue to use that, especially with the Huddle Focus cameras specifically. That's a product that they have. And we have it at all of our stadiums and all of our gymnasiums at the high school level. And so we even had it at our natatorium. And something new this year that they've done that we installed the natatorium one, but they had baseball, softball rollout. I believe it was last year we got those installed. So we literally have a camera every facility imaginable for our programs.
Oh, wow. That's great. Thanks again for sharing that. Once again, for our listeners, our guest today is Kevin Hendrickson, the Senior Director of Athletics for Corpus Christi Independent School District. Kevin, you took our listeners kind of on your journey through high school and Texas State. Was it always in the cards that you were going to be a teacher, a coach, an AD, or did that just happen? And what was your journey like that's now brought you to Corpus Christi?
Yeah, I think to me, again, having that such a great experience at my middle school even into high school, I had such a great experience that I wanted to still be a part of the school system. And I wanted, playing sports since I was, 5, 6 years old, wanted to still be a part of the team. I just wanted to wear that jersey, right? And so this gave me an opportunity to continue to have that jersey. And so I think that from a young age, I did want to go into being a coach. And I thought I was going to be just that, a coach. I didn't think about being an athletic director or even a middle school campus coordinator. And but yeah, that's what I went for, and I was all about it. In fact, I was going back to the youth football once I got involved with going into my undergraduate. I reached back out to the Pop Warner League, which is it was actually in San Marcos too as well, PALS. And I reached out and see if I can be a part of the organization just to go ahead and start getting some experience. And so I was the treasurer and I was coaching youth football. And so that really gave me an opportunity to, I guess, find my why and like, oh, this is why I want to get into it, and I loved it every bit of it, and so it just kind of solidified, I guess, my decision to go ahead and continue that route. Once I got into that, I went to, of course, like I said, went to college and got my teacher certification and got into kinesiology. From there, I did some student teaching with my undergraduate. Part of it being a teacher, you had to do some field work. And so I did my field work at an elementary and a high school. So I was at the opposite end of the spectrum because in the state of Texas, when you do physical education, you're early childhood all the way to 12th grade. So that's why I had to do some elementary and some high
Right.
school. And part of that is Coach Davis um, uh, was the head coach at Lehman High School in Kyle, Texas, which is part of the Hayes ISD. He had some coaching experience at Westlake High School, which is a big powerhouse football team in Austin. He had some experience there, but he gave me an opportunity to assist as a student coach because in the state of Texas, you do need to be, for the most part, on every ISDs, you do need to be a student teacher to be able to help out with the football team. And so he allowed me to be a part of that. And so I just grew even more love of, especially on that higher level of grade school, being in the high school football coaching and doing that. So he gave me an opportunity there. From there, he wanted to hire me, but the teaching fields didn't line up. And so I made my way over to Manor Middle School in the Manor ISD school district just east of Austin. They actually have a couple guys in the NFL right now, which is pretty cool. But from Manor High School, I was there my first year. I get hired on as doing physical education classes and being the middle school boys coordinator. And let me tell you, you think you're kind of prideful being young, thinking you know it all and you've been around sports. And I just remember sitting in the high school athletic coordinator's office, and I just sit there and I was just crying. I just didn't, I was lost. I was just really lost. Like I thought I knew things, but when I see the coaching staff, they have procedures and they had this and that, I'm like, man, no one's really pulled me to the side and said, hey, here's your blueprint. Talking about, you hear the cliche saying, drinking from a fire hose. That's
Right.
exactly what I was doing. And I just really thought about that moment. I'm reflecting now how much I grew, and it's one of those you kind of got thrown in fire. And I'm kind of glad it happened, right? Because you really learn. Not to say that's the best way, and I'm not saying suggesting that, but I just want to bring that up because I didn't know, and so I just want to bring that up to young ADs and young campus coordinators and just coaches in general. Like it's okay that you don't know, and make sure you ask for help, things of that nature. And I know it's hard for people to ask for help and then even to receive it, but there's no shame in that at all whatsoever. You can't do it by yourself. Um, so from there, I did 2 years there. Then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to Texas State and get my master's because I think I want to be an athletic director one day. And so that would only help me potentially get into that role. And so I went back down to Texas State. So this is northeast Austin. And so I was living in South Austin at the time. So the commute, as you can imagine, with living in a big city like Austin, it's a good commute. An opportunity came in South Austin in Austin ISD as a middle school coordinator for both boys and girls. So it was going to expand my role, not just on the boys side, but also on the girls side, and then also help me with my commuting down to Texas State, where I would take a course every semester because I was also coaching as well. So I did one course per semester as I was coaching, and then also in the summertime, that's when I really loaded up on those summer courses. I did like 3 or 4 per each summer session. Each session was like usually in June would be a session, and then in July would be a session. So that's where I did most of my work in my graduate classes. But I bring that up because that allowed me to have that internship that I had talked about with you. I got to help expand the stadium as they were crossing over into 1A ball in Division A, Division One, I should say. So that was a pretty cool experience. But then I got to be at Paredes Middle School, which I had a fantastic time. I had a great team around me, a lot of good coaches, a lot of experienced people. Had a really good time there at Paredes Middle School and was there over 10 years, 12 years to be exact. And I was the middle school coordinator there, coached football, track, did basketball as well. And yeah, I had just a really good experience there as a middle school coordinator, won a city championship, what we call city championships in football and basketball, which was really rewarding because it was a more underprivileged community. Um, you're talking about Title I kids, you're talking about kids that single parents, and you're beating teams. We got to beat some teams that, would have, you would say, had more resources and things of that nature. So it was so rewarding. It was just a great experience and time that I had. From there, I continued my path into the athletic administration with Austin ISD. I reached out to the athletic director at the district level, and I said, Coach Anderson, I said, I need to come visit you. He said, no problem. Let's set up a time. So I went in person, which I would encourage instead of people nowadays just applying for something, be proactive. You got to do something that, that's out of the norm to sell yourself. So I went in person and I sold myself. Hey, this is what I would really like to do. I feel like I've done all I could at the middle school level. Um, and oh, by the way, I wanted to kind of rewind back. I did coach varsity football too. I did do a couple of years of that with my um, vertically aligned high school and Aikens High School, which is a 6A now. They're the biggest classification of football. So I coach running backs there. I was on the staff that went to the first ever playoff appearance for that school. So that was really neat. And so anyway, fast forward back to Coach Anderson, I just told myself, hey, I really want to get involved. I want to expand my horizons. I want to be able to get in athletic administration because I knew if I continued to stay where I was never going to progress to my goal. And my goal was eventually to be an athletic director. And so he gave me an opportunity. I'm so thankful for it. I oversaw the House Park Stadium, which is downtown Austin. Very classic stadium. It's got a nice skyline. I do miss that skyline on every Thursday and Friday night football game that I would do there. I was over tennis, cross country, and track. Um, and when I say over, I would oversee our 13 high schools in Austin ISD. I would oversee the cross country, track teams, tennis teams. I ran the district meets um, and matches, and so I did that. I did that for a couple years, and then an opportunity came down here in Corpus Christi, where they had an assistant athletic director position opening. And Corpus Christi was not on my mind at the time, um, but I think with just where I was in life with my wife and 4 kids, and with just Austin just continuing to grow, and it's my hometown was just becoming unrecognizable. I was like, you know what? Hey, let's move. Let's do something different. So Brenda Marshall, very very legend down here as well. She gave me an opportunity to come down as assistant athletic director, and I was assistant athletic director for 2 years. I helped oversee basketball, middle school football, track, cross country. And at the time, she actually had an AD, assistant AD, leave for another school district in San Antonio to take an athletic director job. So he got to move on. And then the guy I took over for, he retired. So when I got here, it was myself as an assistant athletic director. There was one other assistant athletic director, and then Coach Marshall, the athletic director. First day on the job, I kid you not, Jake. I walk in, I talk to the other assistant athletic director. Hey, how's it going? And then she tells me she's leaving. Her and her family are packing up. She's actually going to put her 2-week notice in today, and they're leaving for an opportunity for her husband, and they went to Illinois. I'm like, you're kidding me. So luckily, I had some past experiences to help me in that situation. So me and Coach Marshall, I know she was very glad I was there because I had some experience, and so right off the bat, we were just a 2-man team when we were so used to having 4 people in that department as a whole. And so right off the bat, I hosted regional tennis for her. I did the track meets. They were so grateful because I was a track guy and football guy, but the track guy, just organization of that. And so, yeah, it was, I could tell she appreciated it big time for me to jump in.
Boy, I really appreciate you sharing each of those stops. And I'm going to go all the way back to your fire hose moment when you're starting out. I think all of us have have a similar moment in our careers where, and you said it very well, you think you know everything, you're going to come in and change the world. And then all of a sudden, there's procedures, there's steps that, it's like speaking a foreign language and you're the only one in the room that doesn't know it. So, yeah. And you also said you have to go through those moments as kind of that, growth process. We don't get better without the struggle. You brought us up to coming to Corpus Christi. Let's go and take a break. And when we come back, let's hear all about Corpus Christi ISD, how big it is, the programs you offer, and some of the reasons that you think it's the best place to be an athletic director. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We are coming right back. We also want to make sure we say thanks to Home Campus. Things like scheduling, rosters, results, facilities. Home Campus does all of these and more. Does it better and does it faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. You got to see it to believe it. Go to homecampus.com. Talk to their pros. Find out all the things that they can do for you and your athletic department. That's homecampus.com. We'd also like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards and technology, but their new content creation service takes it to a whole new level. Wall of Fame's talented team of writers and creators is going to come up with compelling narratives with your kids, your coaches, your school's history, and you can then post these on your school's social media channel. You really need to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and click on Content Services. You're going to be very glad you did. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Your athletic department is doing some great stuff, and Gipper is going to help you look like you're Division I, maybe even professional grade. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's the #1 app for athletic marketing. Gipper's thousands of professionally designed templates can be customized in your colors, your brands, your logo to allow you to create, share, and schedule all your social media on one simple platform. And that platform is Gipper. We didn't even talk about their digital newsletter. Go to Gipper.com to get started. And as always, make sure you mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast and our guest, Kevin Hendrickson, the Senior Athletic Director for the Corpus Christi Independent School District. Kevin, you talked about how you got to and kind of why you chose Corpus Christi. You also talked about let's say, an exciting start to working there. Share with our listeners a little bit about the community, about the school, and what are some things about Corpus Christi that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, so when I moved down here for the opportunity, the next day, people are already calling me, friends and family. Hey, how you liking it? How you liking it? And my biggest thing was 15 miles is 15 minutes. Like I can get from point A to point B. And so I just kind of joke with them, going back from Austin. I love the community. Corpus Christi I.S.D. is been a blessing. Our superintendent, one of our biggest reasons why I really enjoy it here is because our superintendent backs athletics. He doesn't just talk about it, he's about it. He's on our Texas High School Athletic Director AD Association. He's on the committees. He's on the Texas High School Coaches Association committees. He's on the UIL Legislative Council committee. So he is very supportive and behind athletics, not only athletics, but just all curricular activity. And so it's very helpful when you have someone supportive and backing you to take those steps when you want to make some steps to make some changes or to have some discussions and not just shut off. And so that is one biggest reason why I love where I'm at. Another reason why I guess my wife and kids will say is because the beach is 15 minutes away from us where we like to go. So that was a big selling point for them. And just being in a multi-school district, Corpus Christi is about half the size of when I left Austin. Here in Corpus Christi, we have 6 high schools, and we are going to have 9 middle schools next year. I say going to have. Did some consolidation over this past few months where we went from the 12 down to 9. But we will have 9 middle schools and we will have 6 high schools competing in athletics with the UIL. And one other thing I do enjoy is Corpus Christi is a city, right? It's a good sized city, but it has that small town feel still. And so from where I grew up and came from, that small town, and then my experiences tied into it with a multi-school district, it was a good fit. It really is a good fit. And the community is very strong supporting down here. And so that's one thing I also like about it. They come to the games, they're supportive. And so it's just like it's a good feel. So Corpus Christi, it's a special place. One of the slogans we have right now in my regime, if you will, is elevate the Bay, and that's what we're doing. We're going to try to do our best to elevate the Bay.
Now, I think one of the things that athletic directors love to do, but oftentimes they don't get the chance to do it either because they're so busy with other things or sometimes, for financial constraints. It's professional development for your coaches. What are some things that you do or you've been able to do, or maybe that you plan to do in the area of, professional development for coaches and the ADs at the schools that you oversee?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one because we do a lot for our coaches. We want to pour into them. We do have Texas High School Coaches Association. It's a huge organization. I would be lying if I told you the exact number, but you're looking anywhere from 30 to 40,000 in membership, and that's probably just a safe bet. That's going to be in Houston this year in July. That's a big, 3-day event. We do send our coaches there to that. We call it coaching school, and so they're going to go to there. Also in January, we actually host down here our Coastal Bend Coaches Association. They do have a clinic that they do in January. And so we do allow and want our coaches to go to that. It's usually on a Friday, Saturday. And not only that, on the high school level, we also encourage our middle school coaches to attend that. So we'll pay for their registration so they can go get some input and expand their knowledge, as well for the middle school. In addition to that, we also have our Texas High School Athletic Directors Association. We do currently have our assistant athletic directors and myself go, and we have expanded in this past couple of years some of our district athletic trainers. And one thing we did cool this year is one of our middle school athletic coordinators, she was real gung-ho about going and wanting to, check it out. So we brought her. And so we're hoping to continue to do that moving forward. In addition to that, we started our first year's Coaches Academy here in Corpus Christi ISD, where we pull in our first year coaches and we tell them, hey, how to do things the CCISD way, and this is how we do this and that. Kind of going back to that moment, I was sitting there at 22 years old, coming right out of college as a coordinator, and just my hands, like I was just so prideful, but I was also passionate and just like, okay, what do I do? We don't want that moment for any of our coaches. And so we want to make sure we get our first year's coaches in. We want to coach them up because we don't want them to be feeling abandoned. We want to create that culture where we want to make sure we retain them. And so that's one of the things we're doing. Another thing we're going to be doing this year, we're going to expand it, is going to do aspiring head coaches and athletic directors. So we're going to meet about 3-4 times this year of those that want to get into a role. So we're going to, again, pour into them and bring in some special guests that are current head coaches and speak to those. Hey, this is how I got there. This is what you need to do. Same thing with athletic directors. We're going to help guide and pour into people to hopefully one day they can be one of our head coaches. Another thing we're doing that the Texas High School Coaches Association did was the seat at the table. And seat at the table, it's on their website too. You can get some more info. It's where the women of coaches get together so they can have a quote unquote seat at the table, where these girls, women come together and they meet up and they kind of just talk about the struggles and things that they're going through as being a mom and a coach, or just a coach in the female profession as it is. where they can kind of connect and have stories and talk. And Delma Bernal, my assistant AD that you're going to speak again with, I heard, she's the one that oversees it. And the cool thing that what we did compared to other school districts, some school districts just did their school districts, but what we did was the coastal bend. So we really opened up not just to Corpus Christi ISD, but we opened it up through other ISDs throughout our region, which was really cool. So we really connected with them. So those are just a few things professional development wise that we're going to do. I know next year our Texas High School Athletic Directors Association, they do a aspiring athletic directors for our junior high coaches. And I had asked at our recent AD conference if we could be a satellite clinic, if you will, or seminar, if you will, conference, whatever the word you want to use, but we're going to be one. I'm excited about that. So we're going to actually host one of those, they call it jams session. And we're going to host that for the Texas High School Athletic Directors Association. So again, bringing in more opportunity for our coaches to have those options that they would never have elsewhere.
Oh, no, sounds tremendous. And I know the Texas Association, both coaches and ADs, is a very big but a very well-run organization. So thanks for sharing that. Speaking of sharing, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but let's do it now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and add you to their network or just connect and pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way that our listeners can get in touch with Kevin Hendrickson?
Yeah, so they can email me at kevin.hendrickson, HENDRICKSON @ccisd.us. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I'm also on social media at the Texas Coach. That's my Twitter account, or X, I should say. I should know better by now. X at the Texas Coach. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. So they can find me on those platforms and connect and shoot me a message, or like I said, they can always email me.
Well, I still say Twitter a lot too, so don't worry about that. Okay. Once again, our guest is Kevin Hendrickson. We're going to take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 booster club software application. If you spend any time at all with your boosters, you know that volunteer signups and volunteer changes are part of the game. Well, with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays connected and engaged. The same is true with sponsorship fees or concession sales. Everything flows through their secure system, so nothing gets lost. Give your parents, give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. Go to boosterhub.com for more information. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, digital ticketing, of course. They're still the #1 digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising through School Funder? The Hometown menu goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. You're going to find it all at hometown.com. That's hometown.com. And guess what? Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
Just wanted to give a shout out to Hometown Ticketing. Jake, we use Hometown Ticketing. We've used them for the past couple of years from another company, and it's just been night and day as far as customer service. It's definitely next level. And so shout out to Stu, because Stu's been our go-to rep. So I want to give him a specific shout out. anytime that we need something, there's no time or day he's not available. We've been able to call, email if there's something that we need to fix. He assists with that. So the customer service has really been second to none, and we really appreciate them for doing so. And then in addition, we started using School Funder, who they bought out. That's part of their fundraising package. And anytime you could put more money into your program's pockets, it was just definitely a no-brainer. And so most platforms, they would do, the typical 80-20% split, but with Hometown and School Funder specifically, it's 97% goes back to the schools and the 3% goes to them, but that helps to pay for obviously the websites and things of that nature. So it's really minimal cost that they're really expending to the school districts. But just wanted to give a big shout out to them. We're grateful for their partnership. We're actually finally catching on board here in Corpus Christi ISD. We're going fully online next year, not just with our high school events where we were a hybrid, where it was cash or credit, our online ticket sales, I should say, cashless. But we're also going to do it with all of our middle schools. And so getting set up, getting the equipment we needed to expand where we're doing those sales at, they stepped right in and helped us get what we needed. So just want to give a shout out to Hometown.
Well, again, I appreciate you doing that, Kevin. And I hear the same thing again and again about not just the digital ticketing, but now the fundraising platform, School Funder, that you mentioned. And, platforms are great when they work, and they do work, but that customer service component that you mentioned, it's just, you can't ignore that part of the package. Thanks again for sharing that. During the break, Kevin, you and I were talking about an initiative that it's been started in Texas. It's called the Texas Way. And when I first saw that, I just thought it was so fantastic. Can you share a little bit about what the Texas Way refers to with our listeners, and how is it going since the initiative was first started?
Yeah, so we saw an increasement of ejections and just the sportsmanship wasn't there what we wanted Texas to be. And so there's a two words curriculum out there for character development, and Stevie Mackey's his name. Well, they had reached out, they being the Coaches Association, the Athletic Director Association, partnered with him to create this curriculum. And the whole purpose of this curriculum is to decrease the number of ejections, whether that's players, coaches, or even spectators. And so they talk about these three pillars, and one of them is respect for others, and then also control of self, and then the last one, spirit of competition. And so those are the three core, pillars of the Texas Way. You can look for some more information for those that are listening on playthetexasway.com. I'm kind of giving them a plug because it is a big deal, and we have seen decreased percentages at the Athletic Directors Conference. They did show that it is working. Not everybody's still on board as far as all the ISDs in Texas, but it's definitely coming, and we're gaining more and more. And one thing I found out at the AD conference is Georgia, the state of Georgia, is actually coming on board. They're going to do a model of the Texas Way. So be looking out for that for anybody in the state of Georgia. But we've seen some tremendous works and some efforts. Outside of that, we also do a lot of community events and things of that nature. And I bring that up because the Texas Way actually has a districts of distinction that they highlight. And this year, for 25-26, this previous year, I should say, Corpus Christi I.S.D, we were once again one of 39 districts of distinction. We got it last year in the first year that they did this, and then we got it again back-to-back years. So that's pretty cool. And part of that distinction is making sure that you are promoting the Texas Way, where we have each high school create a video that we play before each game on the video board with those kids in that community. Just talking about making sure that, hey, mom and dad, you are watching a game, you're here for the game, you're not there to belittle an official or a coach. Let the coach, let the official officiate. And then you, as a mom, I want you to be cheering me on. That's kind of the message is what's happening. And on top of that, again, going back to the community-based services that they do, that's part of the initiation. And then what's cool that this year that the Texas Way has done is they did what's called monthly drops, where they did videos once a month throughout the school year, to just make sure they reiterate that sportsmanship and reiterate the program. Because in year one, it was kind of gung ho at the beginning, and then it kind of tapered off. So they're too still new and they're still improving. But yeah, the Texas Way, it's a big initiative, and I think it's going to catch fire, and it's going to, eventually come to more states as it goes along.
Putting a microscope on Corpus Christi, I imagine that your rate of ejection is low, but you know since since the initiative was started and sharing it with your coaches and your ADs, have you seen a greater awareness from fans, coaches, parents, etc., on positive sportsmanship?
I really have. I can truly say that. And I think it's a combination of different things that got us there. I was talking to our coaches about bench decorum. We want our coaches to know what is it going to look like if it's just you coaching and something happens, whether it's a fight or argument in the stands. What does that look like with your team? So we ask our coaches to rehearse this, by the way, just make sure they're doing best practices. And then what does it look like if you have two coaches, three coaches? What is every coach doing? What is your kids doing? We don't want a situation on the football field or a basketball court where kids step on the court and then they get ejected just because they took a couple steps on the court. So we want our coaches to practice this. So I think that had a big part of it, but obviously the Texas Way really helped spark it. So I think it was a combination and I'm sorry for a lengthy answer, but to your point, yeah, we have seen decreasement in ejections, and whether that's spectators, fans, coaches, and student athletes.
Yeah, and again, we would hope that this would be stuff we wouldn't even have to talk about. That kids and coaches and parents and fans would understand. You need to as you said, control yourself. I'm just curious, and I'll set up this way. In Florida, typically, if a student gets ejected, throws a punch or something, and a coach gets ejected, it's usually a 2-game suspension minimum. The state can do more. The school can, of course, present their case. What's the penalty, or is there a standard penalty in Texas for a player or coach ejection, or does it vary from case to case?
It varies. So UIL, our governing body, does have. So let's say we're in football and you get ejected, you have to sit out the remaining of that game, and then the next game you have to sit half. And so you absolutely have to go by this. But from there, like you said, if a school district wants to apply stricter punishment, you can. And so in Corpus Christi ISD, a few years ago, when Brenda Marshall, our previous AD, set this up, I continue to keep it. And for us, for football specifically, they're going to sit that out, but they're going to sit the whole game out. We really want to make sure that these student athletes know we're being serious when we're talking about sportsmanship. And so we put a little bit more stricter in place. Now, our football coaches don't like it as much because obviously, they want the kid, but you know what? But they didn't like it in the sense of, we're going to sit a kid out for a full football game, but for basketball, the season's triple the amount of games, and so it's more impactful. So I do understand that. Those are things that you got to work out, and we're going to work out as we go along, just to make sure the punishment for that, or the consequence, I should say, fits each sport that way. But yeah, to your point, yeah, there's definitely some consequences that the student athlete has. And in addition to that, we have curriculum for character development called 360 Athletics, where when this does happen, and if it does, not only a coach or the kid, we have got them to built in some material for that. So that way they have to go over some material, whether it's a video or some readings, and then they'll take a quiz for us. And so that's part of their consequences. For us in our athletic office, they would have to complete prior to going back into coaching the next game.
Yeah, and again, emotions run high. It's an emotional, athletics is emotional, but at the same time, the hitting back, it's always the second person that gets, caught and gets ejected. That reacting back, it's the selfish move because if you do get ejected, you're hurting your team. And, let's not get ejected. Let's do the right thing for the sake of our team. Anyway, I'll get off my high horse right now. This has been great talking with you, Kevin. Really appreciate you spending some time with our listeners, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics with your experience, but there was a time where you were just starting out as a brand new coach, a brand new AD. I'm going to put you in that position again, but I'm going to let you put 3 tools in the toolbox. So let's take our final break. We're going to hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. And when we come back, we're going to find out what Kevin Hendrickson puts in his new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything. For our student athletes, for our coaches, we even used them for our parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that came back on these surveys, almost always over the top positive, and it'll be the same for you. The surveys also allowed us to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but it gave us a chance to find out what their concerns were, usually address them before they turned into something big. But going back to that positive data, incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, sometimes your principal, sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey just for you that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, make sure you tell our sponsors you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Kevin Hendrickson. He's the Senior Director of Athletics for the Corpus Christi Independent School District. Tremendous background as a leader, as a coach, as an AD. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let him put 3 tools in the toolbox. So, Kevin, what 3 tools are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
I think one big thing we kind of talked about, and just based on my history that I shared with you today, what's going in the toolbox is my membership cards of my associations, because definitely leverage that with coming in brand new, not not being so prideful, but learning from others. And I know, networking, you hear about that, but be diligent about that. Make sure you are connecting with your associations, going to the conferences, talking to other athletic directors at those associations, and really make sure that you are, involved. And so I really would highly recommend that. To this day, I call athletic directors, all the way from the Valley to the San Antonio to the Austin region, Houston, any athletic directors I know. If there's something comes up, hey, what are you doing? Don't be scared to make those phone calls. They were in those shoes before, or they're thinking the same thing, and they're just not, having. So it's pretty cool when you do make those phone calls. Oh, I never thought about that, and then you start collaborating, you find answers, and so membership cards. So if I'm putting that in a toolbox, I would have that. One thing too is just don't be afraid to delegate. And I know that sounds like a negative word, but you really cannot do everything on your own. I feel myself sometimes trying to do that, but you do hire people to assist with that, and it's one of those things. It's like, well, why did I hire this person if I'm going to do it anyway? And so don't be afraid to delegate and ask for help. You definitely can't do this on your own. And I think the big phrase for me, or a catchword, is culture, right? This is the culture. That's kind of a word that's being thrown out quite a bit down here in Texas now, but it really builds a culture of a sense of belonging for your other staff members, your other campus coordinators at the high school level, and middle school coordinators, to let them have buy-in, have ownership, have some committees, and get their input. and then let them run with those tasks. And so when I say delegate, that's what I want, because you can't do everything on your own. And then I guess the last thing I would say with the toolbox is sometimes it's going to feel overwhelming. But what I would say is make sure you're doing, have just a couple things, right? There's so many other things, and there's some systems in place, and there's some good systems here in Corpus, but there's some things that we just needed attention, that we needed to look at. And I guess what I'm getting at is don't feel like you have to change it overnight, and don't feel like you don't have to change these 10 things. I'm just throwing out a number, 10 things. Why don't you just concentrate on one or two? And I told my team that we have all these ideas, and there's going to be new programs and incentives and vendors, and this school district is doing this. That doesn't mean that we got to do it now. It's not a no. It's just a maybe later, because I feel sometimes that some school districts and athletic directors, they see stuff that other people are doing, and they want to do that right then and right now. And again, going back to my number, my pseudo number 10, how much energy and time are you really putting into that to make sure it gets to the quality you would like? And so I would just encourage those that, hey, just look at one or two projects, and get really good at that, whatever that is. Um, and don't overwhelm yourself. And if you do, don't, again, going back, don't, it doesn't hurt to ask for help. It doesn't hurt to delegate some tasks to help you, because you're going to be busy in this role, especially in a multi-school district. So those are a couple things. I don't know if they're the greatest, but those are just a couple things that I would definitely add to my toolbox. It's not really physical. It's more, other than the membership card. That's why I said get a membership, but it's more just some knowledge, as you kind of grow into this position and become wise, if you will.
No, I love every single one of them, and I love how you led with the membership, getting involved, building your network. It's just so valuable. You alluded to that, when we're first starting out, we think we know it all, but we don't. And, having that network of members to support us and help us grow, so very valuable. And delegation, it's so valuable, but it's one of those things I think ADs struggle with, to let go. And you're absolutely right. You hire these people, you got to give them a chance to grow and stretch their wings, if you will. And your last one, I would maybe couch that under a category of just being patient, but you also talked about, hey, let's focus on this. Let's not get distracted by what this school's doing or what's happening over here. Let's do what's best for our school. Great tools. Kevin, once again, appreciate you sharing with our listeners today. If one of them wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more about how you run things at Corpus Christi, or about the sportsmanship program, or anything, what's the best way that our listeners can connect with Kevin Hendrickson?
Yeah. So once again, you can definitely connect with me at my email. It's Kevin, Kevin, Hendrickson, Hendrickson, at ccisd.us. And then you can also find me at the Texas Coach, all one word, at the Texas Coach on X. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn, where you can message me and connect there, and we can have some conversations. Because I know I have a unique background. I have more of a middle school background, not the classic route of head football coach and going into an athletic director. So I know a lot of people like to know that type of story, and so I'm always willing to share.
Well, Kevin, thanks again for sharing. Hope you have a great summer. Hope you get some much-deserved time off. Maybe that 365 contract with some extra vacation days tossed in there too. And we're gonna have to get you back on the podcast. Such a great guest. Appreciate you, sharing with our listeners.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate your time and willing to have me come on your podcast. I appreciate it.
For our listeners, we appreciate you. And just a reminder that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories along with some best practices. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.